April 10th, 1912. Titanic departs Southampton. A marvel of engineering, a ship said to be unsinkable. Among her passengers was Edward Whitmore, a quiet schoolteacher returning home to America. But this story isn't about steel or sea. It's about what he carried in his heart. A letter, written the night before Titanic met her fate. Slipped into a green glass bottle, sealed in wax, and surrendered to the sea. For over a century, it drifted silently, guarding a love once unspoken, sealed with timeless devotion, until now. This letter was discovered in a bottle, washed ashore near Cork Island, more than 100 years after the Titanic sank. It was sealed the night before the tragedy, by a man still holding on to someone he left behind. What you're about to hear isn't just a letter. It's a moment, frozen in time, a confession never spoken aloud, a quiet goodbye, from a man who never made it home.
April 13th, 1912, somewhere in the North Atlantic, on board the RMS Titanic, Clara. It's only been 3 days since I left Southampton, but it feels like weeks have passed between us. With every mile, the Atlantic stretches wider between your world and mine, and yet somehow, your memory stays close, closer than the stars above this still black sea. I stepped out onto the promenade deck tonight. The air had a strange stillness to it, like the world was holding its breath, and for a long while so did I. In that silence, I felt your absence more than ever, an ache, quiet and hollow, that echoed louder than the sea itself. You are further from me now than you have ever been, and I can feel it. There was no wind, no moon, only the stars, so sharp and bright they looked as if they'd been pinned there by hand. The sea didn't move. It mirrored the sky so perfectly I couldn't tell where the ocean ended and heaven began. It should have felt like peace, but instead, it felt like a whisper before a storm. All around me, people speak of beginnings, of fresh starts and bold futures on this grand crossing. But all I could think of was you. In the faint quiet behind me, I can hear music, soft and low, drifting from the saloon. A piano, I think, maybe a violin, a waltz meant for someone else's evening. But in this moment, I imagine you here, your hand in mine, your laugh cutting through the cold, your head resting just below my chin as we sway to music that isn't ours. I should have asked you to sail back to America with me. I should have spoken the words I'd swallowed again and again every time you looked up at me from behind that library desk. 6 months wasn't long, I know. But time plays tricks on the heart. In that small English village amid the smell of old pages and pressed flowers, you became home. I was too afraid to believe in something so gentle that felt so real. Tonight, under this velvet sky, I realized what I left behind, and what I may never return to. I don't know what waits for me in America, but I do know this. If fate is kind, I'll return for you, and if not, if time has its own plans, then may this letter drift beyond my fate and find its way into hands that can feel the love I never dared speak aloud. You were never just a passing page, Clara. You were the story. And I remembered a line from an old mariner's poem. The sea gives, and the sea keeps. Let the sea be my witness. Let the stars remember what I felt. Let you somehow know that I loved you. Yours always, Edward.